Are you looking to bring on an employee for the first time? Maybe it's just been you as a solo entrepreneur just running your business, or maybe you and a partner, and you've decided that it's time to start hiring employees. But it might feel a little bit daunting. You might not know how much you can afford to pay somebody. You might not know how much savings you need to have in the bank. You might not even know what role you need to hire first. And you might just be kind of confused about the whole process and what do you really need to do in order to bring on your first employee. Well, if that is you, I've got you. That's what this video is about. And I am excited to talk to you about it today because it's something that I'm pretty passionate about small business owners bringing on the help that they need so that they can grow and scale their businesses. So if you don't know me, my name is Hannah Smolinski. I am a small business CFO and I run a virtual CFO agency. And this specific topic is something that we have talked to all of our business owners with, how to bring on employees and how to do it in a financially sustainable way, how to be profitable while growing your employee base. All of this information that I'm bringing you today really comes from practical application and actually helping clients do this. Okay, if that sounds good, please stay for this video. I've got lots of tips for you. And then if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, I would love to have you here. We are all about helping small businesses grow in that profitable and financially sustainable way. So if that sounds good, we'd love to have you here. Since we've done this with so many clients, I wanted to share some of the things that we've found as businesses are starting to hire employees. There's a lot of fear around hiring employees for different reasons. And, people are worried about bringing somebody on and then maybe not being able to afford them, or bringing somebody on and then not really sure what exactly to do in order for those people to become good contributing employees. There's lots of different things that can kind of stop people or maybe just make them very hesitant from hiring employees. So I want to go through some steps for you. So the first thing that I want to help you guys with is that you really need to think about what role it is that will be the best first hire. And this really comes from you analyzing everything that you're doing. And I think that this video is going to be mostly applicable to people who are solopreneurs who are probably doing some kind of service business. Now, this could definitely work as well for a product business. I'm thinking about all the people who maybe are making handicrafts and they are maybe running a booth and, maybe they're doing Sunday fairs, things like that. But this is also, the solo bookkeeper or maybe the graphic designer or maybe an architect who's just by, herself selling things and then also doing all the work. There's lots and lots and lots of businesses in this country. I feel like it's definitely in the millions of businesses that are run like that, but they're starting to get to the place of, hey, there's only so much I can do. I need to bring on that employee. And the first thing that you need to think about is what is that role that will be the most helpful? That's the first thing. Now, a lot of times you're going to know exactly what that role is right away. Hey, it'd be so helpful for me to just have somebody who could take on X task. And if that was off my plate, then I could do more of something else. That might be really, really clear for you. But if it's not clear, I think that what you need to do is sit down and write down literally every single thing you do in your business. Okay? Everything. Even just keep a list on your desk, and as you're working throughout any kind of time or wherever you work, maybe you work in a workshop or something, write down everything that you do. You take orders, you fulfill product, you do your SEO for your website, you design your website, you do all of your invoicing, you do all these things, write everything down. And then when you have that list, go through that list and circle the things that you really don't like doing. Or circle the things that really take up a lot of time, or circle the things that are really you're not very good at, and start to, see what are the things you're not very good at, you really hate to do, and take up a lot of time. Those are going to be some of the first things that you're going to try to outsource. Okay. So as you identify your list, that will help you decide what type of role you need. Do you need somebody who's maybe a billing specialist? Maybe you run a therapy practice and you have to bill insurance, and billing insurance takes up a lot of your time. Then maybe one of your first tasks is actually hiring a biller to be able to do that for you. Maybe it's not even a full-time role. Maybe it's a very part-time role, but that might make a lot of sense for you if it makes more sense for you to be doing something else with your time. Okay. So think through that. And I think having that list of really what are you not good at? What doesn't make sense for you to be doing? What do you not even like doing? Somebody else likes doing that task and they can be hired to do it. Okay, so identify that role is step number one. Step number two is going to be to think about how that role can create operational efficiency and revenue. You want the role to be able to help you be more efficient as an overall business. And you also, hopefully that means that will be generating more revenue. Now, if you hire, let's say, an admin assistant, they might help the operational efficiency for you to be able to do other things, which then in turn may create more revenue. So some of this will be maybe not so direct as directly creating new revenue, but it might be sort of an indirect way to therefore allow you to create more revenue. So I'm going to use me as an example here. When I was a solo CFO doing CFO work, I needed some help with just some really basic financial tasks, some basic bookkeeping, and some things that my clients just needed to have done for them. And it didn't make sense for me to be doing that. My time was worth more by doing a more higher level strategic things. And so by me taking 8 to 10 hours a week to do these kind of lower level financial tasks, it really didn't make sense for me to do that. So that was one of the first things I outsourced. I found somebody who could take on this more like tedious, lower level accounting work, took that off my plate. It was much cheaper for me to pay somebody else to do it than for me to do it if I was really valuing my time correctly. And then I was able to go out and sell additional work that I could do at my higher value. Okay, so that was a way that somebody else took off some of my work off my plate, and then it allowed me to create more revenue. That was way more than what I was paying this person to do that task. Okay, so think about that. Like, is this person, what is this role? Is it going to create extra revenue for us? And I want you to think about that lowest hanging fruit of where is the next best revenue dollar. Some people might bring in maybe like a marketing person so that they can grow the business, but marketing can take time for that level of work to actually create new revenue. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay. So think about like, what is the quickest way to additional revenue? How can you make that happen fast? That's the best thing to do for this first hire. Now, what I see oftentimes, these roles might be an administrator or executive assistant, and then they might be like what I did, where they bring in kind of an entry-level support for a professional. So if you are a lawyer, maybe that means bringing in a paralegal type person. Or if you are a website designer, maybe that means that you bring in somebody to help with graphics. You know, there might be lots of different things that you can do, but you know, something that you're doing can be potentially offloaded to somebody else at more entry-level position. Okay. Also, bringing in like an accounting support or something might also be something you can do there too. Now, the next thing that I would like you to think about is to plan for how much this person is going to cost. Okay. And when we think about how much this person is going to cost, we need to think about how much they're going to cost on a monthly and an annual basis. Okay. And we want to think about it monthly because we want to know, what is that monthly cash flow need that we're going to need for that individual? Because sometimes I think business owners get a little bit wrapped up in, oh my gosh, I can't afford to hire a $50,000 salary person because I don't have $50,000 in the bank. And yes, that would be nice to have $50,000 in the bank, but you actually don't need that much money to hire these people. So what you need to know is like, how much do I need right now? Because if I'm hiring somebody and I'm following steps 1 and step 2, then I should be in a place where I'm hiring with the idea that they will be helping me generate more revenue in some kind of way, or they will be helping me increase that efficiency. And we want to know how much that is on a monthly basis so that we can forecast our cash flow. Okay. And so I'm going to give you guys a really simple rule. And this is like super basic. I do have a more complex way to calculate this, but just for easy peasy starting point, a number. Take the salary of what you want to pay somebody. And even if that, it could be a salary or it could be hourly rate times average hours that you want them to work times the weeks of the period that we're looking at, either like if you're just looking at a month or if you're looking at the whole year. And then you multiply that number times 1.1, which would be a 10% amount, or 1.15. So 10 to 15% on top of their wages is what you should think about for taxes. Okay, employment taxes. Now, this is if you're offering no benefits. We're not going to talk about benefits right now. I do have a more complex hiring tool that has all of the things included, where it's an Excel spreadsheet and it shows the salary. You can plug in the salary or the hourly rate. I have both. And then you can type in, what do benefits look like, if they're, 3% IRA match, or they are software subscriptions that you put in, or the cost of their computer, or travel benefit, or healthcare, or whatever those things are. All of those things included can give you a more robust number that's going to be much higher than just considering the taxes. But for your first hire, you're probably not offering benefits. Let's be honest. It's probably not happening very often that your very first hire are going to be able to offer that full suite. And I'm trying to get you to hire number one. Okay. If you want to go and look for that worksheet, I will link it below, and it's definitely worthwhile if you are looking at trying to figure out what that full robust cost is. But this simple calculation for employee taxes is it's going to be 10 to 15% over the wages that I'm paying the employee. Okay. Sometimes people don't know how much employee taxes are, and they just think, wow, that's too expensive, I can't afford it. But you've got to find out exactly what the number is. And even if you plan for that high end of the range of 15%, you're still, it's something you can handle. Okay. It's something you can plan for. Okay. And think about that. If you're paying for somebody and then you're paying them an extra 15% for taxes, think about, are they going to be able to help you generate more revenue? You can just test it, okay? And then I like having a range, so that's why I say 10 to 15%. So you can kind of say okay, on the low end it might be this, on the high end it might be this, and then you can play around with different wages. So if you think maybe I could hire somebody who's really great at $20 an hour, maybe I could hire somebody really great at $25 an hour, you can look to see what that range looks like too. And then you can maybe plan in your cash flow forecast for that high end of the range. And then if you find somebody great for a lower amount, that's great. You know that you will definitely be covered. Okay. So now that we understand how much it's going to cost you to hire somebody, let's talk about how much you need to have saved in order to hire somebody. So at the beginning, I kind of mentioned, hey, there have been people who've said, yes, you want to have all of this money in the bank before you hire somebody. And yeah, okay, sure. Ideally, if you were hiring somebody for $50,000, you would definitely have $50,000 in the bank. That would be great. But how are we going to produce an extra $50,000 in the bank if we don't have employees to help us create more profit? So you've got to start somewhere. Okay. Now, I don't recommend having no savings. I mean, sometimes people will start their business off with a business loan and they've got cash in the bank, and then they're going to use that to help them hire employees. Sure. Okay. That's a strategy. I like to have some savings generated from profits from the business in the business so that you can use to fund your business that way. I do like that. I prefer it because then you're not paying interest expense for debt. But different strokes for different folks. Okay. It's fine. Whatever you are comfortable with, I'm fine with it. But what I want you to think about is think about the type of person that you're hiring and how long it's going to take them to have that return on their paycheck. Okay. So what I mean by that is, let's say you are a therapy practice and you are private pay. And so what that means is that when you sit down with a client, they give you a credit card, or maybe it's already on file. Your credit card is charged for that minute that the appointment is over. Appointment's over, click the button, credit card charge, money gets deposited into the business's bank account 2 days later. In that situation, you are very cash positive, that employee is generating a cash positive situation for you as a business owner. So you actually get paid before you have to pay the employee. In that situation, you almost have to have no savings to hire an employee like that, because they're going to be cash positive for you for day one, especially if they're an experienced person. They don't need any kind of training. Now, and what you need to think about is, do the people need training? Can they start generating revenue right away? How long is it going to take them to get their role to where it's actually going to alleviate you to do more work? Okay. So in my situation, when I brought in that financial person, they were not at a situation where they were really taking work off my plate for a couple weeks because they needed to get trained up to figure out what to do. I was spending time training them. So I was actually working more for a little bit before they were actually being helpful. So I needed about a month of wages saved up before they were actually helping me. Okay. So that's something to think about. If you have a really long training cycle and you hire somebody, but you don't even let them talk to a client or be in any kind of revenue facing or revenue generating role for 3 to 5 months, then you might need to have 3 to 5 months of salary in the bank before you hire that person. Okay, think about the role. What really makes sense? I don't like these hard and fast rules of like, you have to have 6 months, or you have to have 3 months, or you have to have, all of this, because you need to think about what makes sense for your business and for the role very specifically. It could be different. You could have some roles that you hire for in your business that you need to have 3 months of savings. And then there could be other roles where 1 month would be just fine. Look at that and think, how long is it going to take this person for them to really start helping me generate more revenue in the business? Or how long is it going to, are they going to be able to save me money right away? Those are some considerations too. Maybe you've been paying a contractor to do something, but by bringing in an employee, you're immediately saving money. That's great. I love it. You've already been paying somebody. So those are some things to think about when it comes to savings. The next thing, now that we know how much we're going to pay somebody and we know the savings that we have, we want to put this into a cash flow forecast. Now, I'm not going to show you guys how to do a cash flow forecast because I have an entire video of how to use a cash flow forecast. So I just want to mention it, and I will make sure to link that video up above. But definitely forecast your cash so that you can see very clearly how long your savings is going to last you when you have that added expense of the new employee. The next thing I want to point out is that you will want to post your job for a fair market wage, okay? Do not try to get the cheapest person to do the job. That will cost you more money in the end. And we've already done the work of figuring out what role we need and how much we need to pay them, or we've got a range of what we can afford, and we know how that person's going to be contributing. So you should be able to actually pay a little bit more than just kind of operating out of this fear mindset of, oh no, I can't afford it, so I need to get the cheapest person possible. This is where people end up hiring, family members to come in and do things, or, children to come in and do things for them just to pay them lower wages. And I have never seen it work out for somebody that getting the lowest wage worker is a good move in the end for their business. Okay. So post the job at a fair market wage, and you have done your planning for it, and just know, I want to get somebody who is the best person I can find in the wage that I can afford. Okay. But with doing all the planning, it eliminates that fear mindset of just like, oh no, I can't afford it. Okay, because we've done the work and you've put it into your cash flow forecast and you know what you can afford. Okay, I think that is good, and we don't need to scrape the bottom of the barrel for our companies. We want to get really great people in our companies, and we want them to be contributing members and be part of the team. The next thing I want you to do is to get set up in your state to be an employer, and actually get set up in whatever state your employee is in. So say you're in Washington and you hire somebody in Oregon, you're actually going to need to get set up in Oregon. So wherever the employee actually is. So if you are hiring in-state, that makes it really easy. You can go to your state employment. There's lots of different names for these. So it might be like Employment Security Department. That's what it is here. It can be Department of Labor. You'll need to figure out exactly where to go to start to set up those accounts. Our friends over at Gusto actually have a great post that I will link below that has state by state what you need to do to get registered in every single state. So it's a fantastic resource. They do it for their clients, but you don't have to be a client to use this list. It's like a blog post kind of. Go and check out that in the description box below. I'll make sure to link that because it's a fantastic resource. You do need to get set up to get your registration numbers and your employee ID numbers. You should already have a tax employer ID number, which is your tax identification number. But if you don't have that, you can get that from the IRS, and then you can also go to your states and get set up there. So after you have that done, then you will set up a payroll system. And do not for any second think that you are going to do payroll on your own. It doesn't make any sense. You're bringing people on to take work off your plate. Don't put more work on your plate by trying to do payroll by yourself to save $50 a month. Okay, just do not do it. I see people trying to do this and I'm like, why though? It just really doesn't make any sense. These systems help so much. They take care of all of the tax filings, which can be a huge pain in the butt. And they, run payroll automatically in some cases. You just have to put in hours if you have hourly employees. Like, they make payroll so simple. They'll let employees onboard themselves, so you don't even have to get all that information from your employees. And a lot of these payroll systems also have like onboarding systems and things. So like, it makes so much sense to just use a payroll system. We mentioned Gusto a little bit earlier. Gusto is a fantastic small business resource for payroll, and they're really great for small teams, and it's a good place to get started for your first kind of jump into being a payroll or needing to provide payroll and needing to pay employees. So we'll put the link for Gusto here. I think they always give a gift card if you do a sign up for it, so you can check out and see what their promotions are. Our promotion isn't any better than what you can find on Gusto's website. So I mean, you can sign up through us. It does help support the channel, but you can also go and see if you can find any better deal anywhere else and see if, get the best deal you can. We're always about that here. We also have some relationships with JustWorks, which is a PEO, a professional employer organization. That's really good if you're hiring in multiple states. And we have a video about PEOs, and I'll make sure to link that here as well. PEOs are a great option. JustWorks is who we use as our PEO. And so that's also one that you can go and check out. And then we also have a deal with ADP as well. So we'll link all of that in the description box below. So shop around, see what makes sense for you, do a demo, check it out, and see what is the right choice if you want to get into a payroll system. Okay. All right, you guys, that was a lot of advice, but following these steps, you will feel a lot more confident figuring out what you need to do to hire that first person in your business. And you will come back and you will thank me, because great employees and doing the hiring process right, really vetting people, bringing in people that are aligned with your vision and your values, make sure that you screen people. I mean, there's lots of hiring tips. Make sure that you go and, do your best due diligence to make sure somebody is who they say they are. I can't guarantee that you're following all those, onboarding steps, but I think you will not be upset if you hire a good employee to come in and help you with your business. And they will be able to create more value for you so that you can create more revenue in the business and you can generate more profit in your business by having employees. Okay, so I hope all these tips are helpful. If you have any other questions, please put them in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer as many of them as I can. And it might also be able to trigger another video if you guys have a lot of questions, and I can explain some other things about bringing on new team members and how to plan for that. Okay, well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I will see you next week. All right, bye everybody.